Hello, nice to see you again. This is the SAFE project, and my name is Professor Dr. Mark Beutner from the Chair Business and Human Resource Education 2 at the University of Paderborn in Germany. And I'd like to introduce you a little bit in the SAFE project as I did before. And today we're focusing on the DISC Online approach, which I will provide to you. And SAFE, this means streaming approaches for Europe, enhancing the digital competencies by streaming approaches for schools to tackle the challenges of COVID-19. And this is a project which is co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. And now I will share my screen to provide you with some more information about the DISC online approach. And you can see my slides here down below, and I will provide you with some additional information how this DISC online approach, which is the basis for all our streaming work in the SAFE project, can be handled. So the SAFE project is a 24-month project, and within the DISC online approach is one of the core issues which we tackle. And the DISC online approach is an approach which was created by Beutner and Peckuel in 2020, and it is about dealing with the integration of streaming in classrooms. So in Germany, classroom is written with a K, so it's Klassenzimmer or Klassenraum, and in English it is written with a C, so because it is an abbreviation in German language, you can see that DISC here is written with a K. So nevertheless, I will introduce you a little bit to this approach, which is the basis for the SAFE project. And within the DISC approach, we have 4 different levels of integration of streaming into the classroom. We call them DISC 1, DISC 2, DISC 3, and DISC 4, and I will introduce them to you within this video, and afterwards I will provide you also with some information about how streaming from a class into a streaming platform and from a streaming platform to the learners at home can be handled. So this is a hybrid approach. You can do it with people or pupils who are in class, students in class, as well as with students who are learning at home. So this is an overview about the DISC approach, and you see that in DISC 1 we have a more teacher-centered approach, as well as in DISC 2 and in DISC 3 and DISC 4 we have a didactic approach which focuses more on the engagement of the learners. But in a few moments I will talk a little bit more about the different approaches, but at the beginning I will introduce you a little bit about the problems which we face currently under COVID-19. So in 2020 and 2021 we had the situation that the European education system met the COVID-19 pandemic first, and today we have now 2022. The situation is a little bit more complex because in 2020 and 2021 we had some aspects of self-isolation. We needed to deal with infection control concepts like data collection and emergency plans for schools. We had also to care about personal safety of the learners, but also of the teachers in schools. So there were mask requirements and hygiene aspects or hygiene concepts for schools, and most of the schools also dealt with physical distancing, which means that there are contact restrictions, gathering regulations, and the teachers and the learners had always to have a closer look at safety distancing. And this means that in these times there were several lockdowns, But today, the situation is much more complex because some schools live today with some regulations, contact restrictions all over Europe, but some schools are totally free. So in many schools, the situation is quite normal, but at the same time, COVID-19 is still going on, and the numbers are rising and are still high, or in some parts of Europe also increasing, and therefore a concept to deal with learning when it comes again to lockdowns is really necessary. And we have to face this situation not only because of COVID-19, but also if we have other problems at school, other sort of virus pandemics, or some situations like the Ukraine crisis, where learning not only in the classroom is possible, but you have to deal also with streaming approaches. These led us to the idea of SAFE, where we are coming up with a streaming approach for schools. So here you can see that within this crisis and after the crisis, there was little pedagogic guidance for schools. And now we are trying to provide you with some information how to deal with it. And I know that this is pretty late, but at the beginning, the schools had just to struggle to keep up with the situation. And now we can have a closer look how we can avoid problems like that for the future. So we have different concepts. There could be something like schooling at home. So the learners are doing remote work and they're completely at home. Then there could be something like hybrid schooling, where learners and teachers are learning or teaching partly at school or at home. And maybe there is a teacher in a classroom with a part of the class and the rest of the class is at home because of, for example, some restrictions, or because they're infected. And last but not least, we have also the situation that we can have school education under specific regulations, and this is not only connected to COVID-19, but also to other problems which can occur. So our DISC Online approach tries to cope with these problems, and the DISC Online model offers the perspective to integrate mobile learning in combination with hybrid or online learning in educational scenarios. And this means that DISC is a didactic, interactive streaming know-how approach, or a classroom-related approach. So even if you are not writing DISC with a K like know-how, you can also write it with a C for streaming in classrooms. So the idea with the DISC Online approach is to provide a quick solution to tackle such problems at school when forced to implement distance learning in times of a pandemic or a specific situation. So we have several ideas behind the DISC approach. One of these ideas is to have a DISC model to stream from a mobile device to learners at home, and combine this with a blended learning approach. So to have learning in the classroom and to address the learners at home at the same time. In general, DISC describes how teachers can connect with groups of learners through a live streaming class content. So the idea is to have at least the lowest technical requirements to ensure that all teachers can deal with this approach. And learners which are not present or only partially present in the classroom have the opportunity to get the learning contents and the aims of the education also at home. So what is the basic structure of this DISC approach, which I mentioned now several times? So there's a teacher with a mobile device, for example, a tablet, and this is the only thing which is required. And there is, for example, an app for writing on the screen. And the face of the teacher can be shown in the screen via an integrated camera, which is the usual aspect which you have on a tablet. And this camera can also be clicked to this device as a separate one, and then you can provide also an impression of the classroom situation. But to keep it easy, it's only needed to have something like a smartphone or tablet, and with this would run already. So there are not so many technical requirements. So from this mobile device, you stream, for example, like using Streamlabs OBS to the learners at home. And then there can be an interaction between the teacher and the learners in the classroom and the learners at home. So this is the core idea behind this. So there is at least the interaction with the teacher in the classroom, but there is also a possible interaction with the learners at home. So how can we do that? For example, if the class is split into groups. So for example, we have a subgroup present in the classroom and another subgroup which is participating from home. Then we can split our class because of, for example, safety regulations or restrictions into several groups, and I put it here into 3 groups, group A, B, and C. For example, on the first day, group A is available in the classroom and group B and C are participating from home, so there are not so many people in the classroom anymore, and this goes conform to the regulations, for example, with regard to the COVID-19 pandemic. On the second day, then the group B would be there and group A and C would be at home, and on the third day of teaching, the group C would be in the classroom and A and B are at home. This means that every learner has the opportunity to get the opportunity to ask questions in the classroom, and all learners also at home have the possibility to share information and get the content which is running in the classroom. So this is the basic structure, and now I go back to the DISC approach with the 4 DISC levels, and I would like to introduce you to the differences of DISC 1, DISC 2, DISC 3 and DISC 4. So let's have a closer look how this can be handled. For example, here is an insight into DISC 1. DISC 1, there is a teacher. You're seeing here the person standing in front of this blackboard or interactive board or whatever you have. So it's just a need that there is a teacher standing in front of the class, and on the left hand side you're seeing the pupils who are sitting in the class, and the teacher is introducing new content to them, and there is an interaction. So this is the green arrows on between the teacher and the class, between these 2 groups. So there's communication between teacher and students in the classroom, as well as, and this is the streaming approach, between the teacher and the learners at home. You see, this is a teacher-centered approach, so there is only one arrow from the teacher to the learners at home. So the teacher in DISC 1 has only the task to stream what he's telling or she's telling to the students at home, who can take part like watching a video at home. So this is quite teacher-centered. There is no huge interaction to the learners at home, but all learners get the information they need. So this will be increased with regard to DISC 2. So if the teacher and the learners are more able to deal with such structures, there could be also a communication from home back to the teacher. So it's the same situation. There's a teacher in the classroom, some parts of the class are learning from home, and now the learners from home have also the possibility to have an interaction with the teacher and provide them, for example, on a chat with some additional information, and the teacher can take this into account in the class as well. So there is more interaction than in DISC 1, but it's also an approach which is more or less teacher related and teacher centered. So this changes when we have a closer look to DISC 3. Here the communication between the teacher and the students in the classroom, and between the teacher and the online learners, as well as among the online learners, is possible. So the learners can group each other and they can interact between the ones in the class, so there can be group work, and there can also be group work at home between the ones who are working on the computer. And so it's more becoming a learner-centered approach and not such a teacher-centered approach. And this will be increased in DISC 4 as well, where the communication between the teacher and the students in the classroom is possible, as well as between the teacher, the classroom learners, and the online learners. So there is interaction not only via the teachers between the ones who are at home, but also the learners in the class can get information from the learners at home, for example, if there is the possibility to have additional laptops or something like that, or a presentation of what is going on at home in the classroom with a presenter. So you see the requirements are a little bit increasing, but also the involvement of the learners is increasing from DISC 1 to DISC 4. DISC 1 and DISC 2 are teacher-centered approaches. DISC 3 and DISC 4 are learner-centered approaches. How does this work? So there are teachers in a school, and these teachers have different classes. You can see it here on the right hand side, where there are teachers in front of class, and they're using, for example, a sort of tablet to stream their teaching to a streaming portal. So you see that teacher 1 is streaming to the streaming portal, which is in our testing here, the Twitch portal, which most of the learners know already, because there are some gaming activities also on the Twitch portal, which many young people already know, so they are not new to that. And in our information which we have here from Germany, from Spain, and from Czech Republic, but also from other European countries, most of the young people know already how to deal with Twitch from their leisure time experiences. And we are dealing now with a part of Twitch where we have the educational part. So to use Twitch, the learners just have to log in and to have a browser to see everything, and the teacher is streaming everything to this streaming platform, and the learners at home are connected to this streaming platform just via a browser. So they just have to have a connection, and this is all. And this can be done from different classes, and every teacher can provide the information to the class which he or she is addressing. And last but not least, there's also the possibility what happens when a teacher himself or herself gets ill or sick and has to stay at home, maybe due to corona effects. Then it's also possible that the teacher is teaching from home because he's not allowed to go to school, but he's feeling well, and then he can stream from home to the streaming platform. And now the people in the online section, but also in the classroom, can be provided with the information of this teacher. And I did it here for teacher 1. So teacher 1 is streaming from home to the streaming platform, and the class with the supervisor can see it in the classroom, but also the people who are learning from home, the students there, can get the information. So even in normal situation, when somebody gets ill but has just an infection and is able to do all his duties, or if you're pregnant and you can't go to school, or wouldn't like to go to school, then it's a possibility to deal with this streaming approach anyway. So this streaming platform can be handled or addressed via different schools. So also if some schools have some problems and there are not so many teachers anymore because they are all infected, they can also connect their learners to the teachers of other schools, which provide also information on the streaming platform, and so also the possibility to have information for learners or students who are in the situation that the teacher is not able to attend to school is possible now. So what are the technical requirements which I mentioned? The technical requirements are at least a tablet to have the streaming software on it. That's quite easy to do. And we are providing in the SAFE project also a teacher training how to deal with Streamlabs OBS to do the streaming, but also to provide some information about the general approach. In addition to that, it's quite good to have a good microphone. It's also possible to do it with a tablet microphone, but it's better to have a separated one because the quality of the audio will be much better. Then it's good to have a Wi-Fi router and fast internet at school, but this is usual if you're doing some things with digitization. And if you want to provide also your class with information what is going on online, then it's good to have maybe also a projector where you can have a projection of what is going on Twitch also to the wall of your classroom. But as you see, this is optional, so at least it's necessary to have a tablet, and then the whole system will work. And we tested it in several different schools, and this always worked very well. So thank you for watching, and I hope you got an insight how the DISC approach is running. And if you need more information, just have a closer look at the SAFE website, where we provide information from time to time, and where we will also offer the information about SAFE at the end with the SAFE handbook. Have a nice day, and thank you for watching.